Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so today we are on chapters 11 through 15. So we'll go ahead and get started. And I pray that you guys are having a good day. It's been a good one for me, busy but good. And yeah, we're like one step away from Friday. Friday's going to be our last day, and we'll see you back again Monday. Giving you guys time for the weekend, spend time with your families, things like that. All right, so chapter 11 through 15, we're still in Leviticus, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, let me put that. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, these are the animals which you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Among the animals, whatever divides the hoof, having cloven hooves and chewing the cud, that you may eat. Nevertheless, these you shall not eat among those that chew the cud, or those who have cloven hooves. The camel, because it chews the cud, but it does not have cloven hooves, is unclean to you. The rock hyrax, because it chews the cud, but doesn't have the cloven hooves, it is unclean to you. The hare, because it chews the cud, but it does not have cloven hooves, it is unclean to you. And the swine, though it divides the hoof, having cloven hooves, yet does not chew the cud, it is unclean to you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch, they are unclean to you. These you may eat that are in the water. Whatever in the water has fins and scales, whether in the seas or on the rivers, you may eat. But in all the seas or in the rivers all in the seas or in the rivers that do not have fins and scales, all that move in the water, or any living thing which is in the water, they are an abomination to you. They shall be an abomination to you. You shall not eat their flesh, but you shall regard their carcasses as an abomination. Whatever is in the water does not have fins and scales, that will be an abomination to you. And these you shall regard as an abomination among the birds. They shall not be eaten, they are an abomination, the eagle, the vulture, and the buzzard, the kite and the falcon after its kind, every raven after its kind, the ostrich, the short-eared owl, the seagull, and the hawk after its kind, the little owl, the fisher owl, and the screech owl, the white owl, the black, the jackdaw, and the carrion vulture, the stork and the heron after its kind, the hoopoe and the bat. Let me just do this real quick. Okay. I want to make sure you guys can hear me today. Okay. All flying insects that creep on all fours shall be an abomination to you. Yet these you shall eat of every flying insect that creeps on all fours. Those who have jointed legs above their feet with which to leap on the earth, those you may eat. The locust after its kind, the destroying locust after its kind, the cricket after its kind, and the grasshopper after its kind. But all other flying insects which have 4 feet shall be an abomination to you. By these you shall become unclean. Whoever touches the carcass of any of them shall be unclean until evening. Whoever carries part of the carcass of any of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean till evening. The carcass of any animal which divides the foot but is not cloven-hooved or does not chew the cud is unclean to you. Everyone who touches it shall be unclean, and whatever goes on its paws among all kinds of animals that go on all fours, those are unclean to you. Whoever touches any such carcass shall be unclean until evening. Whoever carries any such carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean till evening. It is unclean to you. These also shall be unclean to you among the creeping things that creep on the earth: the mole, the mouse, and the large lizard after its kind, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the sand reptile, the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whoever touches them when they are dead shall also be unclean until evening. Anything on which any of them falls when they are dead shall be unclean, whether it is any item of wood or clothing or skin or sack, whatever item it is, in which any work is done, it must be put in water, and it shall be unclean until evening. Then it shall be clean. Any earthen vessel into which any of them falls, you shall break, and whatever is in it shall be unclean. In such a vessel, any edible food upon which water falls becomes unclean, and any drink that may be drunk from it becomes unclean. And everything on which a part of any such carcass falls shall be unclean. Whether it is an oven or cooking stove, it shall be broken down, for they are unclean and shall be unclean to you. Nevertheless, a spring or a cistern in which there is plenty of water shall be clean, but whatever touches any such carcasses becomes unclean. And if a part of any such carcass falls on any planting seed which is to be sown, it remains clean. But if water is put on the seed, and if any part of any such falls on it, it becomes unclean to you. And if any animal which you may eat dies, he who touches its carcass shall be unclean until evening. He who eats of his carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. He also who carries its carcass shall wash its clothes and be unclean till evening. And every creeping thing that creeps on the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eaten. Whatever crawls on its belly, whatever goes on all fours, and whatever has many feet among all creeping things that creep on the earth, these you shall not eat, for they are an abomination. You shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creeps, nor shall you make yourselves unclean with them, lest you be defiled by them. For I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore consecrate yourselves, and you shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any creeping thing that creeps on the earth. For I am the Lord who brings you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law of the animals and the birds and every living creature that moves in the waters and every creature that creeps on the earth, to distinguish between the unclean and the clean, and between the animal that may be eaten and the animal that may not be eaten. That's chapter 11. That's a lot. And apologizing right now for my sniffles. We are under a weather shift right now. There's the clouds are basically sitting on the ground. I woke up like this morning, so yay. Anyways, chapter 12. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a woman has conceived and born a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, as the days of her customary impurity. She shall be unclean, and on the 8th day the flesh of the foreskin shall be circumcised. She shall then continue in the blood of her purification for 33 days. She shall not touch any hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purification are fulfilled. So 33 days, that's we say 6 weeks, but if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her customary impurity, and she shall continue in the blood of her purification 66 days. Okay, that's interesting. So the boys is less than the girls. That's interesting. When the days of her purification are fulfilled, whether for a son or a daughter, she shall bring to the priest a lamb for the first year as a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove as a sin offering to the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then he shall offer it before the Lord and make atonement for her, and she shall be clean from the flow of her blood. This is the law for her who has borne a male or a female. And if she is not able to bring a lamb, then she may bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, one as a burnt offering and the other as a sin offering. So the priest shall make atonement for her, and she will be clean. Chapter 13. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man has on the skin of his body a swelling, a scab, or a bright spot, and it becomes on the skin of his body like a leprous sore, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons the priest. The priest shall examine the sore on the skin of the body, and if the hair on the sore has turned white, and the sore appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a leprous sore. Then the priest shall examine him and pronounce him unclean. But if the bright spot is white on the skin of his body and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and its hair has not turned white, then the priest shall isolate the one who has the sore 7 days. And the priest shall examine him on the 7th day, and indeed, if the sore appears to be as it was, and the sore has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall isolate him another 7 days. Then the priest shall examine him again on the 7th day, and indeed, if he If the sore has faded and the sore has not spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scab should at all spread over the skin, after he has been seen by the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen by the priest again. And if the priest sees that the scab has indeed spread on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. When the leper sore is on a person, then he shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. And indeed, if the swelling on the skin is white, and it has turned the hair white, and there is a spot of raw flesh in the swelling, it is an old leprosy on the skin of his body. The priest shall pronounce him unclean and shall not isolate him, for he is clean. Shall not isolate him, for he is unclean. And if leprosy breaks out all over the skin, and the leprosy covers the skin of the one who has the sore, from his head to his foot, wherever the priest looks, then the priest shall consider, and indeed, if the leprosy has covered his body, he shall pronounce him unclean who has the sore. It has all turned white. He is clean. But when raw flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean, and the priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean. It is leprosy. Or, if the raw flesh changes and turns white again, he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him, and if indeed the sore has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean who has the sore. He is clean. So there's the symptoms of the common scab that we just went over, symptoms of leprosy, and now this was the common boil. Now we're going over the symptoms of leprosy. If the body develops a boil on the skin and it is healed, and in the place of the boil there comes a white swelling or a bright spot, reddish white, then it shall be shown to the priest. And if, when the priest sees it, it indeed appears deeper than the skin, its hair turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore which has broken out of the boil. But if the priest examines it, and indeed there are no white hairs in it, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall isolate him 7 days. And if it should at all spread over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore. But if the bright spot stays in one place and has not spread, it is the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or if the body receives a burn on its skin by fire, and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a bright spot, reddish white, then the priest shall examine it. And indeed, if the hair of the bright spot has turned white, and it appears deeper than the skin, it is leprosy broken out in the burn. Therefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore. But if the priest examines it, and indeed there are no white hairs in the bright spot, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall isolate him 7 days. And the priest shall examine him on the 7th day. If it has at all spread over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore. But if the bright spot stays in one place and has not spread on the skin, but has faded, it is a swelling from the burn. The priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a scar from the burn. Okay, hold on just a second, guys. I think I left off on verse 29. Hold on a second. Okay. I think I left off on 29 of chapter 13. If a man or a woman has a sore on the head or the beard, this is scaly leprosy that we're talking about. Then the priest shall examine the sore, and indeed if it appears deeper than the skin, and if there is a thin yellow hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a scaly leprosy of the head or the beard. But if the priest examines the scaly sore and it does not appear deeper than the skin, and there's no black hair in it, then the priest shall isolate the one who has the scale 7 days. And on the 7th day the priest shall examine the sore, and indeed if the sore has not spread, and there is no yellow hair in it, and the scale does not appear deeper than the skin, he shall shave himself, but the scale he shall not shave. And the priest shall isolate the one who has the scale another 7 days. On the 7th day the priest shall examine the scale, and if indeed the scale has not spread over the skin and does not appear deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scale should at all spread over the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall examine him, and indeed, if the scale has spread over the skin, the priest need not seek for yellow hair. He is unclean. I love this because even on the sicknesses and stuff, they have to go and show themselves to the priest. Isn't that interesting? And there were times whenever Jesus healed people and he said, go show yourself to the priest. It's just so interesting. You know, they try to separate medical science, all these things, you know, separation between church and state, you know, legal matters, all that. But it's all one, you know. The Lord has rules for handling all types of matters. And some of those rules, especially here in the U.S., are based upon the Bible. After 7 years, debts are forgiven, you know, just different things like that. It's a lot of the principles that we operate by as a nation is based on the Word of God. Okay, so verse 37. But if the scale appears to be at a standstill and there is black hair grown upon it, the scale is healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Symptoms of freckles. If a man or a woman has bright spots on the skin of the body, specifically white bright spots, then the priest shall look, and indeed if the bright spot on the skin of the body are dull and white, it is a white spot that grows on the skin. He is clean. Symptoms of baldness. As for the man whose hair has fallen from his head, he is bald, but he is clean. He whose hair has fallen from his forehead, he is bald on the forehead, but he is clean. Symptoms of leprosy. And if there is on the bald head or bald forehead a reddish white sore, it is leprosy breaking out on the bald head or the bald forehead. Then the priest shall examine it, and indeed if the swelling of the sore is reddish white on his bald head or in his bald forehead, as the appearance of leprosy on the skin or the body, he is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest shall surely pronounce him unclean. His sore is on his head. Now if the leper on whom the sore is, his clothes shall be torn and his head bare, and he shall cover his mustache and cry, unclean, unclean. He shall be unclean all the days he has the sore, he shall be unclean. He is unclean, and he shall dwell alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Verse 47. Also, if a garment has a leprous plague in it, whether it is a woolen garment or a linen garment, whether it is in the warp or woof of linen or wool, whether in leather or in anything made of leather, and if the plaque is greenish or reddish in the garment or in the leather, whether in the wrap or in the woof, or in anything made of leather, it is a leprous plague and shall be shown to the priest. The priest shall examine the plague and isolate that which has the plague 7 days. And he shall examine the plague on the 7th day. If the plague has spread in the garment, either the warp or the woof, in the leather or anything made of leather, the plague is an active leprosy. It is unclean. He shall therefore burn the garment in which is the plague, whether warp or woof, in wool or in linen or in anything of leather, for it is an active leprosy. The garment shall be burned with fire. But if the priest examines it, and indeed the plague has not spread in the garment, either in the warp or the woof, or anything made of leather, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing in which is the plague, and he shall isolate it another 7 days. Then the priest shall examine the plague after it has been washed, and indeed if the plague has not changed its color, For though the plague has not spread, it is unclean, and you shall burn it in the fire. It continues eating away, whether the damage is inside or outside. If the priest examines it, and indeed the plague has faded after washing it, then he shall tear it out of the garment, whether of the warp or the woof, or out of the leather. But if it appears again in the garment, either in the warp or the woof, or anything made of leather, it is a spreading plague. You shall burn with fire that in which is the plague, and you shall wash the garment. And if you wash the garment, either warp or woof, or whatever is made of leather, if the plague has disappeared from it, then it shall be washed a second time and shall be clean. This is the law of the leprous plague in a garment of wool or linen, either in the warp or woof, or in anything made of leather, to pronounce it clean or to pronounce it unclean. Chapter 14. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and said, This shall be the law of the leper for the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall examine him. And indeed, if the leprosy is healed in the leper, then the priest shall command to take for him who is to be cleansed 2 living and clean birds, cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. As for the living bird, he shall take it, the cedar wood and the scarlet and the hyssop, and dip them in the living bird of the bird that is in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. And he shall sprinkle it 7 times on him who is to be cleansed from leprosy, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose in the open field. But he who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, wash himself in water, that he may be clean. After that he shall come into the camp and stay outside his tent 7 days. But on the 7th day he shall shave all the hair off of his head, and his beard and his eyebrows, all his hair shall he shave off. He shall wash his clothes and wash his body in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish, 1 ewe lamb of the first year without blemish, 3/10 of an ephah of flour mixed with oil as a grain offering, and 1 log of oil. Then the priest who makes him clean shall present the man who is to be made clean and those things before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. And the priest shall take 1 male lamb and offer it as a trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave them as a wave offering before the Lord. Then he shall kill the lamb in the place where he kills the sin offering and the burnt offering in a holy place. For as the sin offering is the priest, so the trespass offering it is most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil and pour it into the palm of his own left hand. Then the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in the left hand, and shall sprinkle some of the oil on his finger with his fingers 7 times before the Lord. And the rest of the oil in his hand the priest shall put some on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, on 1 thumb of his right hand, and the big toe of his right foot, on the blood of the trespass offering. The rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed. So the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord. Then the priest shall offer the sin offering and make atonement for him who is to be cleansed from his uncleanliness. Afterward he shall kill the offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. So the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be clean. But if he is poor and cannot afford it, then he shall take 1 male lamb as a trespass offering to be waved to make atonement for him. 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering, and a log of oil. The 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to afford, one shall be a sin offering and the other a burnt offering. He shall bring them to the priest on the 8th day for his cleansing, to the door of the tabernacle of meeting before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them as a wave offering before the Lord. Then he shall kill the lamb of the trespass offering And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering and put it on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour some of the oil into the palm of his own left hand. Then the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is on the left hand 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put some of the oil that is in the hand on the tip of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, on the thumb and on the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. On the place of the blood of the trespass offering. The rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed, to make atonement for him before the Lord. And he shall offer one of the turtle doves or young pigeons, such as he can afford. Such as he is able to afford, the one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering with the grain offering. So the priest shall make atonement for him who is to be cleansed before the Lord. This is the law for one who had a leprous sore, who cannot afford the usual cleansing. That's powerful. Verse 33. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, and we're on chapter 14, by the way. When you have come into the land of Canaan, which I give you as a possession, and I put the leprous plague in a house in the land of your possession, and he who owns the house comes and tells the priest, saying, it seems to me there is some plague in my house, then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest goes in to examine the plague, and all that is in the house may be made unclean, and afterward the priest shall go in and examine the house. Excuse me. And he shall examine the plague, and indeed, if the plague is on the walls of the house, and with ingrained streaks, greenish or reddish, which appear to be deep in the walls, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again on the 7th day and look, and indeed, if the plague has spread on the walls of the house, then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which is the plague, and they shall cast them into an unclean place outside of the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped inside all around, and the dust that they scrape off shall pour out. They shall pour out in an unclean place outside the city. Wow, I'm just like getting an image of them scraping the house. That's crazy. Then they shall take other stones and put them in the place of these stones. And he said, take other mortar and plaster the house. Now if the plague comes back and breaks out in the house after he has taken away the stones, after he has scraped the house and it has been plastered, then the priest, shall come and look, and indeed if the plague has spread in the house, it is an active leprosy in the house, and it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, its stones, its timber, and all the plaster of the house, and he shall carry them outside the city to an unclean place. Moreover, he who goes into the house at all while it is shut up shall be unclean until evening. And he who lies down in the house shall wash his clothes, and he who eats in the house shall wash his clothes. But if the priest comes in and examines it, and indeed the plague has not spread in the house, after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds, cedar wood, scarlet and hyssop. Then he shall kill one of the birds in an earthen vessel over running water. And he shall take the cedar wood, the hyssop, and scarlet, and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. And he shall clean the house with the blood of the bird, and the running water with the living bird, with the cedar wood, the hyssop, and the scarlet. Then he shall let the living bird loose outside the city in the open field, and make atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for any leper, sore, or scale, for the leprosy of a garment of the house, and for a swelling and scab and bright spot, to teach to teach when it is unclean and when it is clean. This is the law of leprosy. Chapter 15. This is about bodily discharges. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness in regard to his discharge, whether his body runs with his discharge or his body is stopped by his discharge, it is uncleanliness. Every bed is unclean on which he who has the discharge lies, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water to be unclean until the evening. He who sits on anything on which he who has the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean till evening. And he who touches the body of him who has the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean till evening. If he who has the discharge spits on him who is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, bathe in water, and be unclean till evening. Any saddle on which he who has the discharge rides shall be unclean. Whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until evening. He who carries any of these things shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And whoever the one who has the discharge touches and has not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. The vessel of earth that he who has the discharge touches shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he who has a discharge is cleansed of his discharge, then he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing. Wash his clothes and bathe his body in running water, then he shall be clean. On the 8th day he shall take for himself 2 turtle doves and 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and give them to the priest. Then the priest shall offer them, the one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. So the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord because of his discharge. If any man has an emission of semen, then he will wash all of his body in water and be unclean until evening. And any garment and any leather on which there is semen, it shall be washed with water and be unclean until evening. Also, when a woman lies with a man and there is an emission of semen, they shall bathe in water and be unclean until evening. Verse 19, if a woman has a discharge and the discharge from her body is blood, she shall be set apart 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until evening. Everything that she lies on during her impurity shall be unclean. Also everything she sits on shall be unclean. Whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And whoever touches anything that she sat on shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. If anything is on her bed or on anything on which she sits, when he touches it, he shall be unclean until the evening. And if any man lies with her at all, so that her impurity is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. If a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, other than the time of her customary impurity, or it runs beyond her usual time of impurity, all the days of her unclean discharge shall be as the days of her customary impurity. She shall be unclean. Every bed on which she lies all the days of her discharge shall be to her as the bed of impurity, and whatever she sits on shall be unclean, and the uncleanliness as the uncleanliness of her impurity. Whoever touches these things shall be unclean. He shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until evening. But if she is cleansed of her discharge, then she shall count for herself 7 days. After that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take for herself 2 turtle doves, 2 young pigeons, and bring them to the priest to the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then the priest shall offer one as a sin offering, the other as a burnt offering, and the priest shall make atonement for her before the Lord for the discharge of her uncleanness. Thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law for one who has a discharge, and for him who emits semen and is unclean thereby, for her who is indisposed because of her customary impurity, and for the one who has a discharge, either man or woman, and for him who lies with her who is unclean. Powerful. Powerful, powerful. All right, so Leviticus 11 to 15. Let's do the breakdown. Thank goodness we do not live in that day, and thank goodness women have pads now. You know, like back then I can see it because they would probably bleed everywhere because they didn't have stuff like what we have now, you know. So very interesting, very, very interesting. Okay, so okay. So Leviticus 11, it says discernment in what we take in. Leviticus 11 outlines clean and unclean animals. While these rules applied specifically to Israel's covenant identity, the spiritual principles still carry meaning. God teaches his people to distinguish between what brings life and what contaminates. Their diet was a daily reminder that holiness affects every part of life, even the unseen choices that we make and the habits that we consume. Clean versus unclean symbolizes spiritual discernment. Everything that the believer takes in, ideas, influences, speech, relationships, either nourish holiness or weaken holiness. God is teaching his people to recognize spiritual contamination before it takes root. The devotional truth in this chapter, chapter 11, not everything that is available is edible for the soul. Spiritually healthy people guard their intake. The leadership truth is great leaders develop disciplined discernment. They feed on what strengthens their calling and refuse what dulls their spirit. And that right there is perfect for right now with all the gossip fest that's happening between media and everything else. You know, we don't want to get involved in that stuff. We don't want to watch that kind of stuff because we don't want to pervert our spirits. We know that it's happening and that's enough. And we should have been on our posts as we have. And we should continue to remain on our posts, you know, and do what we can in our sphere of influence, right? So that's how you protect yourself, you know. Leviticus 12, holiness in life's most personal moments. This chapter describes purification after childbirth. While it's not about sin, it teaches that even life's most beautiful events require cleansing because everything connected to humanity is touched by the effects of the fall. God shows that holiness is not confined to sacred spaces. It touches family life, physical realities, and emotional seasons. Childbirth laws foreshadow the truth that every person is born into a fallen world and needs redemption. The required offering points to Christ, who alone brings cleansing from all inherited brokenness. The devotional truth of this chapter is God meets us in our humanity, our transitions, our vulnerabilities, and brings cleansing and renewal. The leadership truth is true leaders carry compassion for people in their human seasons while pointing them to the cleansing and strength that God provides. Leviticus 13, recognizing what corrupts before it spreads. This chapter describes skin diseases, often translated leprosy, and laws for identifying and isolating the infection. The focus is not punishment but protection. The priest examines symptoms, monitors progression, and determines whether a condition is dangerous or not. Leprosy represents sin, corruption, and the slow spread of internal decay. The careful examination shows how spiritual infection often begins subtly, like carefully, like you wouldn't notice it, and with discoloration, small patches, and unnoticed wounds. Those wounds left unchecked means that it spreads quietly. The isolation is not rejection, it's protection for the community and a chance for healing. The devotional truth in this chapter is unchecked attitudes, habits, and compromises can spread further than we realize. Early examination brings restoration. The leadership truth is leaders must courageously confront spiritual diseases in teams, families, or culture before they spread pride, gossip, bitterness, and compromise. Loving correction prevents long-term spiritual damage. Leviticus 14, restoration, cleansing, and re-entry into the community. This is the thing, like, God always wants to restore. That's his goal. He doesn't want people to be just ousted and outcasted. His desire is to restore. As should ours. We're ministers of reconciliation. So, Leviticus 14, restoration. Restoration, cleansing, and re-entry to community. While chapter 13 focuses on identifying uncleanliness, chapter 14 centers on restoration. God provides a beautiful symbolic ceremony for cleansing someone healed from a disease. 2 birds used, 1 sacrifice, 1 released alive, painting a powerful picture of death and new life. Cedar, hyssop, oil, and water are used in that ritual for renewal. This ceremony symbolizes Christ's redemptive work. 1 life is given and 1 life is set free. Cleansing through blood and washing. Consecration with oil, the oil of the Holy Spirit. Restoration is not partial, but God fully cleanses, anoints, and reinstates us. The devotional truth of this chapter is God not only forgives, he restores. His healing is through lifting shame, rebuilding dignity, and reopening doors closed by brokenness. Leadership truth of this chapter is leaders must champion restoration, correct when needed, but restore when healing comes. God's heart is always about redemption and for redemption, as ours should be as well. Which is basically what I just said, but I got ahead of myself. Okay. Look, Leviticus 15, purity and daily patterns. Oof. I've been sitting too long. This chapter deals with bodily discharges, another topic of human vulnerability. While the details seem uncomfortable, the message is profound. Purity requires awareness. Some impurities happen naturally. Others result from sickness or intimate behavior. Regardless of the source, God wants his people to stay aware of what affected their spiritual and communal life. These laws teach personal responsibility. Not all contamination is intentional, but it still requires action. Purity involves acknowledging what drains us, distracts us, or weakens our spiritual strength, and taking the steps of, being cleansed. The devotional truth of Leviticus 15 is holiness is not only about avoiding sin, but recognizing what exhausts or contaminates the soul and seeking daily cleansing. The leadership truth of this chapter is leaders must guard their emotional, spiritual, and relational health. Fatigue, stress, and private struggles left unattended to can affect the entire community, and that is so very true. The devotional summary of all of these chapters, all 5 of them, these chapters form a beautiful picture of holiness as a lifestyle, not a ritual. Discern your intake, seek cleansing in vulnerable seasons, identify corruption before it spreads, celebrate restoration fully, maintain purity in daily life. These laws foreshadow Christ, who cleanses the unclean, restores the outcast, heals the broken, and separates his people from spiritual corruption. Holiness is not isolation, it is alignment. Not perfection, but pursuit. Not shame, but healing. Leadership takeaway is leaders must walk in discernment, compassion, courage, restoration, and daily cleansing. They set the tone for a community marked by purity, health, and the presence of God. And as you guys know, this video will probably not load until in the morning. In the morning, I will be prompt to put the notes in the description box. I did not get to put the notes in the description box of yesterday's recording, and I think it's still private. So I will make it public. I don't know why all of my videos record live and then they go private, so I have to unprivate them and put them back public. So just giving you guys a head up, and that normally happens early in the morning each day. So even if y'all lag behind a day, you'll be pretty much in step with us because you'll be catching what I just taught, keeping up with it all the way through the year. All right, God bless you and enjoy the rest of your day. Amen.